welcome to the Actual Play with Just More Fix. This is James. With me this episode is Carrie.
What's up?
You can find us online at justmorefix.com or on Twitter at justmorefix. If you like us, you can support us at Patreon and you can give us a rating and review at iTunes wherever you find us at. In this episode, we're going to play Night Witches. And now it's time to get our gaming fix.
You're about to listen to another episode of our Night Witches Actual Play. These episodes contain some mature content involving the tragedies of war, so you've been warned. In this episode, we rejoin only Vera, as she is in transition between Trudgornyaka and Pazhovskaya. So without any further ado, here is Night Witches.
All right, so at the last time we played, you guys finished your deployment at Trudgornyaka. Yeah. And so there is a 6 month layover between Trudgornyaka and when you get to your next duty station. Which
6 months, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Are we staying on base? Do we go home?
So everybody got sent home, basically, is what happened. Okay. So we kind of summed that up into a montage since everybody may have noticed that you weren't in the couple episodes. So I'm not sure when this one will fall on the release. Your character Vera will arrive late at, I think it's Pazhovskaya, I think is what the name of the duty station is. So we had summed up basically there are 6 months into some kind of a montage, right? So you get cut loose from Trudgornyaka, and where is it that you would go?
Probably back to the university initially, unless it's not safe in Moscow anymore. Or I would go home.
Okay. Where is home in Moscow, or is it?
I think it's in Alexandra. No, it's in Leningrad. Leningrad is home.
Okay, so how far is Leningrad? That's on the east? No, Leningrad is on the west.
I'll look it up on a map.
Because it's become Stalingrad.
Yeah. My father works for the government.
Okay.
I have not read that letter yet.
It's going to be called Stalingrad, I think.
Or St. Petersburg.
Yeah. It's on the far west side because there's Roman stuff there, I believe.
Ooh, yeah.
And then how far is Moscow from that? Get your driving directions.
So I was living at the university in Moscow.
Moscow.
Right, yeah. Moscow is where the university is.
St. Petersburg to Moscow. It's a 5-day walk. It's 7 hours by car, it says.
So 5-day walk isn't too far, but Leningrad is closer to the actual...
Oh, wow. 3 hours by train. They have a really fast train. But it's 8 hour drive, basically. So
okay. So probably initially Moscow, because it would be just the first stop on the way to go home and see my family.
Okay, so you will arrive in Moscow and to the university, or I should say, hang on. If we were to sum up your time in your 6 month layover into a montage, what would that look like?
What season is it?
It is August 1942 when you guys leave, so that would be like late summer leading into fall.
Then it would probably be going to Moscow, saying hello to Boris, and then after that, almost immediately going to see my parents, informing them that I'm going to take a semester off of classes and spend Christmas with them because of the war, and I just feel like I need to do more, and then heading back to classes.
Okay.
And then spending the last couple month with Boris and my friends.
So I think... So the way it worked for them is that we summed their thing up into one sort of moment, and then they did like kind of a custom move thing, and then they got something from that went forward into the next session or whatever, basically, right?
Okay.
So I think that so you're trying to keep up appearances that you're still a student with your parents, right?
Yes, they can't know. Would you like me to read these? This one was in Boris's first letter, and he was supposed to ship it from Moscow, so it had the right postage on it. And this one was sent after I got into the fight.
So do you have your letters from to your parents?
I have the letter to my parents. I haven't read it. And it's the oldest letter I've written.
Yeah. Read that one then.
Okay. I don't even remember what it says. Mama and Papa, I am so sorry I haven't written in a while. I've been writing so many papers that I just haven't gotten around to it. I am safe. I am healthy. I have a new dorm mates, Galia, Yulia, and Dasha. We get along so well. Dasha is very motherly. Mama, that means I'm in good hands. Always someone to fret. Galia and Yulia are also very nice. I feel like I have sisters for the first time ever. I can tell the war is getting bad, but classes keep going. Food is rationed, but Galia has a knack for getting us sweets. My favorite professor is Boris. He teaches my philosophy of religion class, as well as several other history courses. I got high marks in everything but writing. How are you? How was work? Oh, I took last weekend to visit the Kremlin. It is truly a marvel. Russian superiority is very evident. I do have some terrible news. I will not be able to come home during break. The school is advising against travel, and the war and the military need the trains. I will take summer classes now. Much love, Vera.
Very good. So I think that you will arrive home, and they'll obviously be very happy to see you. What does your father do?
I don't know. I know that he works for the government, but I don't know what he does.
Okay.
And my mother stays with him. I don't know if she probably speaks multiple languages because we are like a well-educated family.
Right.
We're wealthy. I think I'm aristocratic. Yeah. My body is aristocratic.
Okay. Right.
So she probably knows several languages from her time going to school. And I don't know what he does. I just know that he works for the government.
Okay. Very good. So I think the initial part of when you first get home will be like a great homecoming, and everybody will be happy to see you. And there's lots of questions about how school is going and all that kind of stuff, right? The normal of how it had been when you came home previously, right? Mm-hmm. So I think go ahead and roll. I'm kind of between guts and luck, because when it's like acting like a lady, that's roll plus guts, right? But I'm also not sure if this is just a complete luck thing to see if you can pull this off to maintain appearances for your family. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I would probably go with luck. I was not in a very good space after the end of the last mission.
Oh, that's true.
And even though I've included these people in my letters, it might take me back a little bit when my parents mention them, because that's been my only letter, but that's so much of what I'm actually doing, and I'm trying to hide that.
Right.
So I think it's going to be luck.
Okay, right on. So go ahead and roll plus luck.
Oh, I didn't even look at my stats. This is a bad idea. It's an 8.
An 8? Yeah. Okay. What happens is that your parents, they initially, it seems like everything is going well, right? Mm-hmm. And you're happy to be home, and they ask questions about school initially, and then they're just happy to have you there, right? But it's takes time goes by, right? And you're going to be there for 6 months. And
I want to make sure I leave after Christmas, though, to go back. So that's 4 months then. Okay. Because I don't want to not keep up that appearance that I'm still attending school. Right. Like, I'm taking the fall off because of the war, and I already took summer classes, so I'm a semester ahead. But I need to get back to classes.
Okay. So you will spend time with them, and everything seems to go relatively well. There's a few hiccups here and there where you kind of mention some things that don't seem like they should be happening at the university. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But nothing that's
I know too much about the war, and the war hasn't really hit the university.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so there's some red flags that are raised, I think, but not so much with your mom, more with your father, though, because with his age, he probably served in World War I, so he has a very definite knowledge of what it is actually to be in a war zone. And also, he works for the government at some level, so he probably is in the know more than most people. Mm-hmm. And some of the things that you have said have led him to, kind of made him raise an eyebrow. Now, he still trusts you because you're his daughter, but he definitely knows that something isn't right, okay?
Okay.
So Christmas will come and go, everything will be fine, and you'll return to the university. And I think that when you get there, Boris is your favorite professor, right?
Yes.
So,
and he's the person that I've been writing letters to.
Right. He's been kind of covering for you. So you'll arrive back at the university in Moscow, and do you go see Boris right away, or like what does your life look like when you're back there in Moscow, even though you're not really in school anymore?
I will go to his home to see if he is home, but I want to go celebrate. I know I have money in my pocket.
Right.
I know my parents didn't send me home like empty-handed after Christmas, and I want to celebrate in the city. I kind of want a bit of that I'm a college student, experience. I'm young. I want to have fun.
Okay.
And I would like to go with a friend. I don't like being alone as much anymore. So I would like to see if he's available, but if not, I'm going to go out by myself.
You'll go there, and he's happy to see you. And you mentioned wanting to go out and maybe go dancing or go that kind of thing. Okay. So yeah, he's available. It's just after Christmas, so classes aren't back in session yet, and so yeah, he will go somewhere downtown with you to some place. It's not super seedy, but like some that has good solid Russian music, that you guys can go and have a good time and enjoy yourselves with. And you arrive there. I have this vision, sort of like, have you watched Babylon Berlin?
I started the first episode, but I haven't watched it.
It's so good. So it's sort of like this. So it's this place kind of like in the basement of a larger building, and there's live music playing with different stringed and horned instruments and whatnot, and there is whatever the Russian equivalent of sort of like the flapper girls are. That's from kind of like, no, I guess the flappers are earlier than this, aren't they?
Yeah, those were the 20s. This is 40s. I don't think that it would be too much of a stretch to say that it's very similar to that, because you're supposed to be working, communism is taken over, so maybe going out is a little, a little risky. Under the radar.
Yeah.
It's not legal per se, but it's probably not what you should be doing to help your country.
Right.
But they have soldiers, and they need a break too.
Okay. So you're at this sort of like the World War II era Russian equivalent of kind of like a seedy dive bar. Not terribly, seedy, but just a little bit on the edge, And right on. Right. Well, you've been in a war zone. This is sort of like not a big deal, right? You've dodged bullets and artillery fire. Yeah. It's not a big deal at all. This is nothing. This is no big deal. Right on. So you guys arrive there, and there's a bar and the band playing, and everyone seems to be having a good time. And what do you do?
Dance. I'm going to treat Boris. He's been covering me, so I want to pay for his drinks, maybe be wingman if I need to. And I just want to take in the noise and the people and all the potentiality that everything's going to be good in Russia once we accomplish our goal. Okay, right on. So I think the night moves forward, sort of like a dream almost, because your life has been so different for so long, right? Mm-hmm. And everything has gone well, and the drinks are flowing, and the music is good, and dancing, and all this kind of fun times. And there's other college-age students that are there that are your age that you're having a good time with. And there's going to come a point where you're going to go back and you're going to go to the bar for more drinks, right? And then you'll get them and you'll turn around, and it'll take you a moment to find Boris. And I think there's this hall that kind of goes off towards the back where maybe the bathrooms are and that kind of stuff. And you see him that he is standing in that hallway holding his face. His nose, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to look around. Is anybody near him?
So yeah, you will see that there's a large man in an overcoat, a dark overcoat, standing there kind of with his back to you a little bit. So you can see kind of the back of his head, the side profile. You can't really see his face very well.
I'm holding bottles, right?
Sure, yeah. I think you're holding a bottle and maybe a couple glasses or something,
Okay. I'm going to walk over there.
Okay. So you sort of make your way across the corner edge of the dance floor, skirting your way around, sliding between people. And you arrive at this hallway that's sort of how in the movies, it's that hallway is sort of quiet and there's nothing happening. Mm-hmm. It's sort of it's still in the same place, but kind of separated a little bit, right? And you see him there, and you see as you get closer, he's holding his nose, and you can see that he has some blood running down across the sides, through his goatee or whatever. And his eyes are watery. It looks like he's been punched in the nose really hard. And then
does the guy look like he's going to pull back again?
No, he's standing there talking, but it's hushed, so you can't quite hear what he's saying. And then with the music and the dancing and in the background,
I don't want to be seen approaching now. I would like to be able to just try to hear what he's saying to him. So I'm gonna come. So I imagine they're on the left side of the hallway. So I'm gonna come from the left side so that I can try to sit there and hear what's actually being said.
Okay, so I think that sounds like an eyeball. So why don't you go ahead and roll plus skill?
4.
Right on. So you go to listen, and unfortunately, you get right there to where you can hear, but you're right there, right? And this large man in this overcoat is
Probably bump into him.
is talking about how he says, "You're going to tell me where she's at." And he says that it's very menacing, kind of like talking really low. Like he's not making any hand gestures or pointing at him so he doesn't raise any more attention to himself. And he says, "You're going to tell me where she's at. There are important people who have business with her." And at this point, you hear that and you're like sort of right there. And he, like, you know, when someone gets too close and you realize that they're too close and then you look, that's sort of what happens, right? And he looks right at you. And he is just a large, square-jawed man, broad of shoulder and chest. He has giant, you know, mule choker hands, you know. And he looks at you and
I'm glaring at him. You're in my way.
He smiles and says, "You're the reason why I'm here.
I think you have an apology to make."
I'm sorry it took so long to find you." He puts his hand on the women's bathroom door, like, you know, and pushes it open and points.
Does he have any sort of military marking on him?
Not that you can see, but he does have a military bearing to him. Do you know what I'm saying? Like how he stands squared up, he has good posture. You know, he has you've been around other military personnel a lot, and he has that bearing to him.
Okay. I'll go in there, but I think you ran into my friend, and I think you have something to say to him.
He looks at him. He smiles a half grin, you know, and says, "I'm sorry, you can't take a better punch." And then he, like, not like forcefully, but, you know, kind of like when you put your hand on someone's back to sort of like move them along, you know, he tries to move you towards the...
I'm going to hand Boris the 2 drinks. I'm going to grab the bottle. I'm going to put my hand on his arm. Like, it's fine. He's military.
Okay.
And then I'll take the bottle in with me, but he'll have the drinks.
Okay. So you'll walk through the door, and as the door closes...
I'll lock it.
It's one of the doors that swings both ways or whatever. It goes to swing closed, and you can tell the last thing you see as the door is closing is that he is stepping like to stand across the doorway, like no one is going to walk in there.
Oh, so somebody else is in here.
Yeah.
I'm going to look around.
So you look around, and as you turn and look, you see you're leaning against the wall. You see, it almost takes you aback for a moment. It just comes as a complete shock. Because, you know, like when you see someone who is completely out of context for how you normally see them.
It's Ruslan.
You see that there is a woman standing, leaning against the wall. And she has blonde hair. And it takes you a moment to recognize her, in fact, because you've never seen her out of a military uniform. And it takes you a minute, and you realize it is, in fact, Deputy Politotruch Sveta. And she's standing there, and she's... dressed in, she's kind of like, she's tall and long, you know, she's has a very slender build to her, and she has on sort of like dark pants and some sort of a looser fitting, you know, button down blouse, and she wears a large heavy coat that's got fur around the collar of it, and she's standing there sort of in a smoke-filled room smoking this cigarette as you walk in.
"Hello, Lieutenant Sveta."
So she takes a really long drag on her cigarette. And she says, "Hello, Vera."
I guess I would have called her Lieutenant Sheremetova.
She actually, no, she goes by Sveta.
Okay.
That's what, you know, she tells people to call her as Sveta. She says, "It's strange to see you here."
Why would it be strange to see me here?
Well, I mean...
Clearly you knew I would be here.
Right, but you're not registered for classes and haven't been for some time.
No, I'm in the military, and you know that.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you flew many successful missions, Tredgornyaka.
And I'm on a 6-month leave right now. Is this a formal interview or an informal interview?
Oh, it's not formal at all.
Okay.
There's no need for any of that. I was just curious. I knew that you went home to see your mother and your father.
Yes, most people do.
Mm-hmm. Your father, he's an important man.
Yes.
And
I've not let that get in the way of my performance.
She like stops.
Nor has that allotted me any special privileges.
She stops leaning against the wall and stands up straight, takes another drag off of her cigarette, and she like agonizingly slowly starts like walking across the tile bathroom floor towards you. And she says, his daughter, if I recall, when she was born, wasn't old enough to enlist. She takes another drag off her cigarette.
He must have had 2 kids.
But he didn't. Takes another step towards you.
The birth year must have got messed up. There was a lot happening after the war.
You know, there are a lot of people that say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And if his daughter is willing to lie, perhaps. She takes a meaningful drag off of her cigarette.
I have not lied about anything.
Oh. She reaches inside of her thick coat and pulls out your enlistment documents. And she tosses them to you, and they sort of like bounce off your chest unless you want to catch them.
Yeah. I've been drinking. Not even
so they flutter to the ground. Those show a different birth year on them, strangely enough. She takes another step closer to you. It would be terrible for everyone involved if he found out that you lied to him and were off playing soldier. It would also be terrible if the rest of the Politotruck found out that his daughter lied. And she'll put her hand, it's like she's sort of close to you, you know, and she reaches up and she puts her hand, not the hand with the cigarette, but her hand sort of like against the top of your shoulder here, you know, and starts to like walk forward, sort of like not like forcing you back, but you know what I mean? Like when you're kind of like trying to, you know, push someone back or whatever.
For someone that is as by the book as you, it sounds like you're trying to do something that is against the book. So
she takes a long drag off of her cigarette, and she will sort of, she's like trying to move you back to the wall, basically. Does that make sense? So she'll push you, like she'll, you know, she has you, like you're there against the wall, and she takes a drag off of her cigarette, and she's sort of like painfully close to you. Do you know what I'm saying? In that way that the, like when you have a superior officer who's trying to kind of intimidate you in some way, you know?
I'll let her in the way that, like, I'm not letting her push me around, but I will maintain that same distance from her. Like that, I will be as uncomfortably close and not uncomfortable with the situation.
Okay, right on.
I'm pretending.
Right.
Yeah, I have sweaty armpits.
So you're trying to, you know, to maintain that composure. And she takes another long drag off of her cigarette, you know, trying to like, you know, you can kind of tell she's playing this game where she's trying to let your emotions get the better of you. You know what I mean? You know, that's the Politotruck. That's what they do, right? And
I'm going to take a drink of my beer while she's taking a long smoke because I need something.
Right.
So I don't talk. I don't want to talk.
Right.
So, like,
because that's what Vera does best is talk.
I know. It's really put me in this bad hole.
She says, I know how to keep secrets. I also know how to make things work by the book. Appearances are important. Very important, in fact. And I just couldn't live with myself if someone like you was sent away to some gulag somewhere far away. I couldn't have that.
So discharge me. I'll get married. I'll get pregnant.
So she like moves closer to you to where she's like, you know, just a few inches from your noses together. And she will turn her head slightly and take a long drag off of her cigarette. And she says, I don't think you're going anywhere. I think you're going to stay here. You're going to stay very close to me, in fact. And she'll take another long drag. And then she will...
So you understand that Russia needs me and that nothing should get in the way of me performing my duty for Russia.
You'll be in a plane and you'll come home safely.
My father doesn't know.
No. And he doesn't need to.
Good. So
long as we have an agreement. We have an understanding then. I'll keep your secret then, right?
Take another drink of my beer. I don't know what to say. Why?
So she will drop her cigarette on the ground and she'll put it out with her foot. She will reach down and take your beer and she will take a drink and she kind of does one of those things where she takes a drink, she kind of does the, you know, and looks at the bottle for a minute, you know, and then she will lean forward and hold you against the wall and she kisses you deeply.
Oh, heck yeah. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
I'm all in.
Okay. Very good. So then you will share this moment in the women's bathroom here,
That's
or
what
whatever.
actually happens. Women's bathrooms all over the world. I know.
So yeah, so you'll share this moment with her in the women's bathroom, and she will kiss you deeply, and you say you don't reject her.
No, I kiss back.
Okay. So I think it's this sort of fade to black moment, right? And then it comes back as she sort of, what do you call it? Like, you know, they have those like 1940s stockings. You know what I mean? It seems like always in the movies they're like, you know, like pulling them up or whatever, you know? So there's this scene where she has her boot on and she has her foot, you know, lifted up and she's, you know, rolling the stocking back up and, you know, sort of putting herself back together. And she says, you'll stay here in Moscow for a while. You'll be going to Pashkovskaya, but you'll be late.
Why late?
And she will smile at you. She says, you've got things to do.
I'm going to gather up my papers. I'm going to put them on her left side of her chest.
Okay. So she puts them in her coat. She's like, I think these are in order.
Okay.
And she'll smile. And she walks to the door. And then you see this moment where this... it's like she puts her mask back on. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like she stands in front of the door for a moment and then stands upright, straightens her coat, and then... I need to get better at that. And then swings the door open. And it's like she's the Politotruck again. And she walks right out the door. Like walking through this giant man, you know, like it's almost like she puts her hand on him to move him out of the way. And he just like, you know.
I want to be that cool.
Right.
I ran him and he was like, get in the bathroom.
And they walk away. And then the door swings back. And it's one of those doors that have like the springs that kind of go back and forth, you know. And when it swings closed and, you know, doors back open, you see that Boris is standing there, you know, with the, what do you call it? The toilet paper up the nose, the classic look. And he's cleaned up as best as can be.
Let's get another drink.
Okay. And I think that's sort of where. No, you're good. Do you have anything, something else?
No, I want to make sure that he knows I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, okay.
I'm sorry that you got brought into that. Okay. But let's get another drink and not let it ruin our night.
Okay. So I think it'll, you know, kind of the evening will eventually draw to a close, and things go off without too many more problems or hiccups, and you sort of repair the small bit of damage that has been done with Boris. I don't think that this would affect things hugely, you know. He's not happy that it happened, but...
He can probably make a educated guess over why I'm getting...
Right, yeah. Oh, he knows. He knows.
He knows.
Right. So, he will have questions, though, about what happened. Will you be honest with him about what happened with Sveta, or will you keep that from him?
I will tell him that she noticed some inaccuracies in my papers,
mm-hmm.
and that we were fixing it.
Okay. Okay, very good.
But I won't, divulge the intimate part.
Okay.
Because I don't want to go to a gulag.
Right. Very good.
He's my best friend, but there are certain things that are just... And I also kind of get the impression that, my character doesn't know, but he has a thing for me. I don't know that personally, but I kind of get that impression that, whether it's, a fatherly, brotherly, or romantic, he has something for me. And, I don't think I would divulge that just because I don't want to get shot. Right.
No, it totally makes sense. I agree. I think it makes sense for a lot of different reasons, and especially for dramatic trouble or whatever. I think it totally makes sense. Very good. So you will spend, assuming that unless you want to throw some kind of a hiccup into it, you will spend about a month here in Moscow, put up in a nice apartment or hotel room, and you will be receive regular visits from Sveta, basically.
Holy moly! Okay.
Unless you want to push back against that.
No, I don't. I thought she actually wanted me to do work, not work. So no, I'm 100% all right with that. This is life.
Okay, right on. Well, just so you know, homosexuality in the Red Army is.
I know
at the top of the list of bad things.
I was very uncomfortable with the way I felt about Marina. But I've always kind of known.
Okay.
And I think Ruslan was just because, I admire my father. I want to emulate him.
Oh, okay.
And so,
right on.
Man in power.
Very cool. Very cool. So then, towards the end of this time, she tells you that she has to go to Pavshovskaya and that you she's arranged for orders for you to arrive late.
Okay. It would have never happened had somebody not made the move first, though, because I know that it's bad.
Right.
But
okay, so go ahead and roll plus. I think it's going to be plus luck again.
5. No, plus luck. I think I have a 0, so I think it's 5. 5.
Okay, so you're not going to hold anything or take anything forward, but the feeling that you get is that this relationship with Sveta isn't because of any kind of feelings. It seems like it's surely a physical thing with her, and that she feels like she can manipulate you in such a way that she won't get in trouble for what is happening. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like she can control the situation, and that's why she sort of chose you. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I'm scratching an itch. I'm not somebody that she genuinely cares about. I'm scratching
right.
an itch, and she has a string against me.
Right.
Okay.
Very good. And I think
I'm being blackmailed.
Close it out there. Yes, exactly. And you will arrive at Pavlovskaya as she has scheduled, and it's all according to plan, or like all squared up within the orders. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, right on. Very good. Thanks for listening. This has been an episode of Just One More Fix. Music has been provided by Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at Incompetech.com. You can support us at Patreon.com/JustOneMoreFix or follow us on Twitter at JustOneMoreFix.